What is up, everybody? I'm ZoinkMeister Adam, joined by ZoinkMeister Patrick.
Hello.
And this is the ZoinkMeister podcast.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. Sirens blasting,
probably need
crypto
like
coins falling from the sky.
Probably need like a theme song at some point or something. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out.
Oh, that would be good. We should. I have a guy for that.
Oh, yeah. Get the guy. Get him on the line.
He's the guy who wrote the, quick little fun fact. I write all the music and draw all the graphic stuff.
Yeah. I just edit videos. I don't do much.
he edits, and he's the chief sound engineer, honestly.
That's true. I do all the do.
Yeah, he's definitely the sound guy. I also do sound stuff, but not nearly as good as him.
Terribly immature.
But I do all the music and drawing and stuff. That's all me, except for the scary theme. That's used on the redacted files. That was by that said guy I was talking about. I do have a guy. He does make music. It is his side business. Some
might even call it a hustle.
Yeah, it hasn't taken off, and I don't think he's public with his username yet. So I only know him by first and last name. So I will not reveal.
Yeah,
but he is excellent. Been playing music for instruments for 20 years. He's fantastic. But anyways, here's the show. ZoinkMeister Podcast.
Welcome to the ZoinkMeister Podcast.
Welcome to the ZoinkMeister Podcast. We will be discussing 3 topics and a special little fun fact at the end. If you stay for the end, an interesting fun fact. It'll be cool to look into.
Hopefully.
But we'll be discussing realism in video games, games that cater to the whale, aka the overspenders, and AI in gaming. So buckle up.
First topic, realism in video games. Specifically, this has been coming up because I've been talking to a cousin of mine who I think is just kind of going through, I don't want to call it a phase, but
it's not a phase, Patrick.
Phase. He is, I should give like vague years. Like he's like 13, 14, 15, like early teens sort of guy. And he's kind of been asking me questions about like, what's the most realistic game you've ever played? And I gave him an answer, which we'll talk about here. And then he was like, okay, but what's the most like realistic like combat in a game? And I have like a whole story kind of like what this boiled over into, which I want to start with, I think. And then we'll get into asking questions here. So the story was I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 with him, which I hope to do a little 1-off or 2-off for the channel at some point. I've been really enjoying it. I've been having a great time. Some people that play that game are really weird. That game lets you be as weird as you want.
Yeah, you can get some real weird. I mean, you've seen the bear stuff. I'm sure you have.
But you can also just play it normal, and it's just a fun game. And it does a lot of things like well. I'm very impressed with the amount of choice and freedom that game like instills in you. Even like, I don't know how fake it is, but it just really feels like you can make whatever choice you want and do what you want to do. And so it's pretty cool. And everything feels so important. And there's like, it's filled in a world that's like open world and like feels like it should be open world just because of how well they use that. It's not like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild where it's like, like it's a big open world, but like half of the objectives are like, hey there, I'm a little boy and I need to get over to my other little boy friend.
Could you fetch quest me these little boy stuff?
Yeah. I'm gonna poop for a reward. Is that good for you?
Give me 3 gold for your poop, huh?
So it's not like that. It's like everything you do feels like it's put there with intent. There's not like just random enemies that respawn because there's something you need to give you something to do, And so it's cool. It's a cool game. Point is, we were playing this game together, split screen co-op, and at some point we got to this one portion where there's these people that are running away from goblins, and they're like trying to get into their fortress, and they're like, open the gate, like there's goblins behind us. And then the guy's like, you led goblins back to our fortress? Like, what are you thinking? And then the goblins show up out of nowhere and they start firing arrows, and they're like, oh shoot. And
it's horrifically backfired.
And then my cousin asked me, was like, do you think this does this feel like realistic at all? I was like, wait, do you mean the goblin showing up and firing at the demon man while my dragon boy runs up? Like, no, nothing about this is realistic. What are you talking about? Obviously, this could not happen. There are no goblins. And so, but he's been on this kick of like realism in gaming. Because Baldur's Gate, very much not like a realistic combat simulator. Big old air quotes that you guys can't see. Because it's a turn-based game. But it does it well. I think it does a really good job with the turn-based fighting system. I mean, because it's Dungeons and Dragons. So, I mean, they've been working on this system for 40 years, it's a good system. But yeah, so the question was, first things first, most realistic game you've ever played. And then more specifically, most realistic like combat, because that's what I said, like this is when it came up, is because we got into a fight with these goblins. And that's kind of like I think, what he's thinking of. And so it's been an interesting question. It's just been something that's been on my mind, so I want to talk about it. So I'm curious because I've kind of had more time to think about this. I just introduced this topic to Adam earlier today. So I'm curious to hear your like unfiltered opinion first on like, what would you call, we'll start with the first. What is the most realistic game you've played?
Well, the most realistic game I've ever played,
bar none,
is Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo, okay.
The various throughout the series.
Yeah.
Very, very technically profound racer. Closer to realism than the Forzas, but the Forzas I would say are more fun because they lack a little bit of that realism, so you can do more goofy stuff. There's nothing more realistic than that. That's like just straight up like, okay, you played this game instead of driving the car.
Well, so then I'm going to one up you here. Have you heard of a game called Beam NG? BEAM space NG?
Oh, no, I have not.
It is a car racing game that's whole claim to fame, or whatever you want to call it, is that it has the most realistic crumple physics in any game ever. And that's the whole thing, is it's a car driving game, but if you like hit something, the car like crumples as realistically as possible.
But is the driving realistic?
That's what I'm saying. I haven't actually played it yet. I think I own it on my PC. I haven't booted it up. It's one of those games I want to show off on ZoinkMeister just because of it's an interesting.
ZoinkMeister.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting little game. So I don't know. That would be curious to see. That's why I was wondering. So
that would be very cool, but no, I have not heard of it.
Yeah,
but
I put the most realistic game I've ever played as a game called Her Story. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, that's the interrogation game, right?
Kind of, yeah. So the game Her Story, if you play it on PC specifically, is a game where you play as somebody on a PC who's looking through old video footage of an interrogation. And the idea is that the interrogation is cut into like 5-second clips, and you have to like search. It's basically like all subtitled, and you have to search the like subtitles, and it'll pull up however many clips based on what you type. And so you can only pull up a certain number of clips at a time. I forget how many it is. So you have to like look up keywords and try to piece together this entire story about this, like what happened in this particular crime incident. And you're trying to piece together like why the crime was committed and what happened and who these people are. And so I was like, it's a real footage. It is a, what do you call it? Motion
captured?
No, it's not motion captured. It's full motion video. It's FMV.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
So it's very realistic in that it is real footage of real actors. And it is really just like a police interrogation. You never hear the questions. You only hear the responses. That's kind of the fun thing about it, is you're trying to piece it together. Yeah. And so it's an interesting game. And so I'd say that's the most realistic game I've ever played, in that the act of playing the game, you are literally doing what the main character of the game is literally doing, like one for one. Like your screen is what the character sees. The only reason you know you're playing a character is because there's at some point the lights will flicker and you can see the reflection of your character's face in the monitor. And that's the only reason you know that you're playing as a character at a computer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you play it on a computer, it's like very real. Like I don't think you could possibly get more realistic than that, right?
What was that game? It's like a hyper realistic first person shooter from the perspective of like a police chess cam.
Oh, okay.
What was the name of that game?
I don't know if I've heard of that one.
Oh man, it looks like really realistic. And people thought it was so realistic that they were like, no, this isn't a game. And then they had to show like the God mode camera.
Oh, okay.
Of them like passing through objects. And they're like, no, this is a game.
Yeah.
It was really high definition. I'm sure whoever's listening right now is probably like, oh, like faintly heard of it. It's really cool. I'll have to show you the trailer later. But it just, the whole aspect is that it's foregoing, or at least what we've seen so far, it looks like a very realistic rendition from like police officer chest camera footage.
I see, but it's not out yet?
No.
Okay.
It's not out. I believe it's like a single guy's working on it or something like
right.
that. It's a very small project.
Yeah. Well, so then that brings us to the second half of this, which is what is the most realistic combat you've ever played? Which combat could be, I think, loosely defined. I don't really know which direction we want to go here, but that sounds like it could be it. If that's
that would be as real a combat I think you can get.
Yeah, but you also mentioned another one.
Escape from
Tarkov or something?
Tarkov, there we go. That game is known as having a steep curve and having like a bunch of realistic different physics and stuff behind the guns and weapons and objectives. But I mean, it's still very much a video game.
Right. That's interesting. I was going to go with, that's one that's really been bugging me. It's like, what's the most realistic combat? I was going to go with something like Xenoclash, where the game itself isn't like realistic and that you're like fighting aliens, but it is like it's like a punch 'em up or whatever you want to call it. It's just very straightforward. Like you got the punch buttons and I think you might have a dodge. And so I was thinking along the lines of like maybe something like that, but There is actually a new Xenoclash game, and I can't for the life of me think of what that one's called either. But that one's been getting a lot of praise. But it's less realistic. It's like third person and stuff like that.
Here, he's going to be looking that up. I'm going to pass him the phone so he can kind of look at that. It was called Unrecord.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it's like a hyper-realistic shooter. This won't be airing in a video form.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have to like look it up yourself. But Unrecorded, it is a first-person shooter from the perspective of the chest cam. And it was so realistic that people were saying, no, this isn't real.
Yeah, it just looks like body cam footage.
It just looks like body cam footage. So yeah, the creator of the game had to go out and show like God camera.
See, that's the thing. It's hard to imagine like playing this, right? It's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's as realistic as like a shooter of FPS
Right,
can
yes,
get. That is what they're going for, right? Like,
right.
That's the thing, is that no one's going to be like running and like sprint sliding, right? Like that's not going to be happening.
Yeah, I'm just curious how plain it's going to work.
I'm sure it's like the whole aspect is that you click and boom, and that's it. So,
yeah, it would be interesting to see how this would compare to.
For those who don't know, the God camera is
that's wild.
When you can just pass through any object. There's no collision data on any
like
of the
a no
objects in the
clip
game.
style.
So you can kind of just pass through walls and stuff. So they had to show footage of the camera just going through walls to show that they weren't real walls. Sorry, I was running out of oxygen there. I was
that's why I'm like mesmerized. I highly recommend looking up that.
Yeah, Unrecorded. PC, I believe, is the only place, or Unrecord. I'm sorry, Unrecord is the only place it is currently slated, I believe. Looks fantastic.
I am suspicious after that. What is it? The Day After, I think, is the game that just came out. That was
that one that was like a bunch of horseradish or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Released and 4 days later, it was dead.
Clash Artifacts of Chaos is the game that is the new version of Xenoclash. Sorry, I want to get that out there to shout out that developer because that seems like an interesting game. Got a lot of good reviews. Anyway, yeah, most realistic combat. That one feels so much harder to me because then it's like I'm thinking of like, oh, if I'm gonna list a shooter, then it's like, well, I guess if I get shot in the leg, then do I walk with a limp? And it's like I was thinking even something like Metal Gear Solid 3 weirdly or something like that.
Metal Gear Solid, as much as people want to play with, Kojima's a madman or whatever, the amount of variable choices you have, and it's still very much a video game, and there's like things you have to worry about. Like it was raining outside, so Snake will sneeze. And like that alerts enemies. Or it's raining outside, so now you have wet footprints. So the guards walking over like, what the heck? And they'll like chase after your footprints.
So that was what I was gonna probably tell him, was like, I'd recommend checking out Metal Gear if you want like a surprisingly realistic
Metal Gear's
combat game.
3, 4, and 5 are like very realistic for what they are, but I mean 3 and 4 are still very much video games, whereas 5 goes for like a very big sandbox, like, oh, here's a very impressive engine, have fun.
Right.
So
yeah,
all very good games.
But besides those, I mean, there's tons of shooters out there that are like, oh, whatever, Arma 3 is listed, or honestly, a game like a RTS game that's like Global Defense or something like that.
Oh yeah, there's like World of Tanks and
or Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Well, yeah, that's a really good one. War Thunder.
Yeah, War Thunder.
All the games where like the gameplay kind of takes a backseat for the realistic aspect.
Right. I feel like there's games like that out there, but that was something I want to talk about. This is a podcast, but if you listen to this on podbean.com, ZoinkMeister.podbean.com, there is a comment section, and I feel like that's the only way that you can get back to us, but I'd love to hear if anyone has their sorts of things. I'm so used to this being YouTube where I can just be like, say something in the comment section.
Comment down below. Well, I mean, aren't we posting this staggered?
Yeah, this will also be on YouTube. You can also check this out
in audio form.
Yeah, just the audio. We're going to have a separate ZoinkMeister podcast for the audio. So if you want to leave comments at any point, even for future episodes, I'll probably be checking those out. Master Mostfa already left a comment on the first Podbean episode, which I did read. I didn't reply to, but I had a fun time reading it. So yeah. I think that's enough for this topic, though, unless you got something else.
Not really. I don't.
Cool. So the next thing we got is this is going to be a little bit of a stretch, but it's mostly, I feel like you have a story that connects us from realism in video games to games that cater to the whale or to overspenders.
Okay.
So you were telling me about this story with.
I was. So Star Citizen, right? Famous game. It's I know a lot about Star Citizen because I have a coworker who is obsessed with the game.
And Star Citizen's kind of famous for being like
the game that hasn't come out yet.
Well, and also
10 years and everything's really expensive.
But it's all about being like kind of like a realistic space simulator, right? Isn't it like,
for the most part, it's claims to be that.
Yeah.
And then I believe
That's what I was saying is the transition here, by the way.
The last time I saw gameplay, which was in April of 2023, is when the game, some gameplay was posted on YouTube, and everyone was glitching and all facing the left wall all at the same time, and nothing interactive was happening. But then they claimed to have their big patch where the Star Citizen guys announced, "Oh, this is it. This is beta 3.1.2, the one you've been waiting for." And I was like, "What do you mean this is beta 3.1.2? You don't say that like that. It's not. It's still in beta. It's not even its own. It's not even 4. Like, what do you mean?" But anyway, Star Citizen. It claims to be a very realistic space opera-esque kind of game where you can live out your second life as a space guy.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, do the things that Baldur's Gate does in real life, but doesn't just claim it, like Star Citizen. Okay. However, the thing with Star Citizen is it's one of those games where it's developing its own, or it has developed its own microeconomy based around services or ships that you can buy and sell in the game. So background for Star Citizen, it was originally started in 2014, was supposedly going to release in 2016, and is still in beta to this day.
Yeah.
You've been able to purchase ships under the ideology that these ships will not be available again, and that will make you better in the game when it eventually does release. So these ships range from anywhere from like $10 to $3,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the $3,000 ones are like, oh, they only come every now and again, but you have to get insurance on these ships.
Okay.
So let's say I buy a $3,000 ship.
Yeah.
Right. So if it gets exploded by an enemy player, or just I drive it into a cliff or whatever happens, I just lose that ship.
Wow.
So you buy insurance, which works like real world insurance, where you pay it on top of the price, and then they'll be like, "Oh, your ship's insured, so if you blow it up, you get a new one when we're done building it." And it's insane and it's crazy, and no one should be playing a game like this. But my personal opinions aside, I do know a fellow, two fellows actually, who have invested over $2,000, one at $3,000 and one at $5,000 respectively, and they're both playing the game. Okay. One guy is like, "It's gonna be the best game ever. You guys don't understand. When server meshing kicks in, it's over." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a thing, right?" Like
when server meshing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to subsidize in this explanation. I'm sorry. So server meshing right now, the game like doesn't work, and there's like a hard tear line where like you go from one server area to another, and they're trying to work on technology that will seamlessly merge these servers together, so there's no hop from server to server. It's just a seamless transition.
Okay.
Working on this technology for like the last 5 years, and every single year they say server meshing is always. It's actually a meme in gaming. The game's going to be good when server meshing comes online. It's a very specific meme. When people say that, it is literally referring to this and this only.
Okay.
So they've gotten no steps closer. If you go look at their roadmap, it's a whole lot of like, "Oh, we worked on this, and this voice actor, we got him to like fart into the mic." So like that's
pretty neat.
so far it's the biggest project ever crowdfunded at I think like $500 million or something like that.
Wow.
Still in beta.
Wow.
So getting back to this was all prerequisite to this explanation. Now finally.
Okay.
The whale, which is a colloquial slang for
not the Brendan Fraser movie.
Not the Brendan Fraser movie.
This is like an industry term, though. I mean, this is more than slang. This is
it's definitely it's still I would say a slang, but just for like a legitimate like business term. A whale is someone who generally is the big spender, right? So if you get a whale, it's one thing to like video games, and it's another thing to like, "Oh, I'm gonna spend $10,000 so that I have a whole pseudo cockpit for Microsoft Flight Simulator."
The idea is that free to play games, everyone knows free to play games. Any game that's free to play, like I shouldn't have to explain that one. The idea is that like 99% of the money that those companies make comes from like 1% of their player base or something like that. And because that's the idea is that they make those free to play games in order to milk the whale is the idea.
And boy, are they letting those udders hang.
Yeah. And so below there's like a whole, like you can look this up. There's like a whole like tier list of where you are. So like below a whale is like a dolphin or something like that. And so like dolphins make up like 10% of the player base. And those are people that spend like certain amount of money. And the below them are like minnows or something like that, which are people that spend, and that makes up like 50% of the player base, which is people that just spend any amount of money. And then the last bit are the guppies, which are the like other 50% of the player base, which is people who don't spend any money on free to play games and just play them for free.
I am a heckin' guppy, bro.
Yeah. And so
gup.
Yeah, so you can look this up. This is like a whole thing, and it's like a real like chart. I mean, this is like these are like actual industry terms.
Time and tested economic.
Yeah, like this is how these people make money on these kinds of games. It's we're not talking about, you know, like slang words. Like these are just, this is what they call them.
So unfortunately, right, in this particular situation, the recent news is about 2 or 3 weeks old by this point, but the news had broke that Star Citizen, which already employs kind of predatory terms, towards whales specifically.
Is that game? Is it free to play or is it?
No, heck no. You got to buy.
So it's more like World of Warcraft style, where like you pay for the game and then you just kind of keep paying
for like a bad experience. So anyways, back to the subject at hand, right? So you pay your money. They made the news because well known for their huge like $3,000 ship prices that you can pay real money for instead of, you know, going having fun with your family.
Yeah.
They announced a $48,000 package. You can spend $48,000. I believe the post was in American dollars to buy every ship in the game all at once.
Oh,
or something along those lines, or at least a bunch, like 200 ships or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But the prerequisite was, in order to not flood the economy with people who would, on a dime, spend $48,000.
I know those people.
Yeah, exactly. You can only buy the $48,000 pack once you've spent $10,000. This is a $58,000 entry wall for like the whale lord. Like whale lord to whale lord.
So those people are called killer whales. So killer whale is that like 0.1% of your people that will spend whatever it takes to get whatever there is.
Yeah, this is a killer walrus deal right here.
That's insane.
Insane. And the thing is,
okay,
like this
at
game,
least it's every ship. I thought you were telling me when you mentioned this earlier, I thought you were saying it was $48,000 for one ship.
No. It is. I mean, that's still preposterous regardless.
Well, but have you seen the prices of like Train Simulator DLC? If you add it all up,
I would never do that.
it's not that much. It's only like $1,000 or $2,000 for all the DLC for Train Simulator.
That's a lot of money.
It's not $48,000.
Just because it's not insane as insane doesn't mean it's not
right,
insane.
But I'm saying like there are games like that where they're like you can get everything in the game all at once if you want for absurd amounts of money. That's the highest I've ever heard though. 48,000.
But see, Train Simulator is all about you having fun with your trains.
Yeah.
Star Citizen, you get these ships under the ideology that like when other people play the game, like, oh, you can't afford a class F destroyer, or I need someone to shovel coal into the engine, so you work for me now. And then your whole gameplay experience can be just shoveling coal into someone else's engine.
I mean,
try to defend it.
They might have found a new subscriber payer. Maybe I should try out the Star Citizen.
So kawaii.
I would love for someone to step on my face while I shovel coal into their starship engine.
I'm clipping this. I'm clipping this from this podcast. I'm gonna put this in a shot. Anything but that.
Oh, employers might hear this.
If you apply to a job, I'm sending them a thumb drive with that like 30-second clip. So anyways, extremely crazy, right?
Are there aliens or do you play as exclusively humans?
There are aliens, but I think as of right now, everyone's exclusively human, and I would not be surprised if that's all it ever is.
I'm not gonna lie. If they really wanted to get not my money, but the whales'
somebody's money,
I feel like if they offered the ability to have like character skins that are like alien races, and if they offered
like giant tentacle appendages or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Lady Dimitrescu alien race.
Oh no, just a big woman?
Just big women alien races that you can spend $1,000 to customize your avatar as.
They'll do it too.
I feel like that would be a big seller for them. Like I feel like I need to go work for Star Citizen and give them ideas on how to milk those monies.
They are professional milkers. The game hasn't come out. I don't know if it'll ever come out. So the game was originally supposed to be a campaign called Squadron 42.
Well, if the game came out, then people wouldn't have hope to cling on to. The game could always get better is the idea, right?
Well, here's the thing is that
the real game's going to be so good.
The campaign is called Squadron 42 and the multiplayer aspect is called Star Citizen.
Oh, okay.
And Squadron 42 was supposed to release back in like 2016.
I see.
Neither of which has released.
Yeah.
They've claimed for many odd months that Squadron 42 is like done.
Oh.
And there's just nothing. So
Weird.
my other coworker who is friends with that coworker who is like obsessed with the game. We came to the conclusion that we think that's just a big scam. There's been quite literally like hundreds of lawsuits.
Wow.
Against I can't remember the name of the company. But hundreds of lawsuits where people have like, hey, I've been supporting you guys. I dished out like $2,000 and there's no game. I want my refund. And at first they had the refund policy that, hey, if the game's not out by 2018, you get your money back.
Oh, wow.
And then when that day came, they completely changed the terms of service.
Oh, okay.
And said, yeah, you can only get a refund if the game comes out officially. So people open lawsuits, like hundreds of them. One guy requested, I think, like $40,000 in damages back for all the money he spent.
Wow.
And they settled outside of court, I think, for less or something like that.
That's still wild.
Yeah, the developers, I believe, are UK based.
Cloud Imperium Games.
There it is, Cloud Imperium. So
Cloud Imperium.
Clown Imperium.
Yeah.
The giant, what was it? Giant Crab Parts Emporium. Remember that?
That is from,
man. Where'd you get that from? The Giant Crab Parts Emporium?
Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Good show. Check it out.
Good show. Way too weird. It's like, it should not have been just a children's show. They had a bunch of weird stuff going on that show. They like date each other. Anyways.
They know how to make a show.
Very predatory. None of this stuff has come out. All the ships
sound good.
For $700, you buy this. Like, I remember it was hilarious. So I should mention that coworker who's like obsessed with the game. He's not like a bad guy or whatever, but like he really likes this game.
Yeah.
And you know, this is like a hard sell for like me who also loves video games.
Yeah.
But this would be an even crazier sell to someone who just doesn't play games at all.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because the other guy he was telling at work, he was explaining like, oh, he bought this $700 ship. I believe it's called the Hull E.
Okay.
Is the name of the ship. And he said he spent $700 real world dollars on it.
Wow.
For that one ship. And he's like, yeah, I got the Hull E. It can transport so much cargo. And he was like giving this guy the entire breakdown of how like useful this $700 ship was. And the guy just turned and looked at him and he's like, you know how much wood you could have bought for that? And it was just like, I couldn't help but laugh. Like, it was the funniest thing I ever had. Like, the wood prices were extremely high because of COVID at the time.
Okay.
And it was just like I was just an icebreaker. I just broke it immediately. Like, you know how much wood you could have bought? And it was just
how
like
much
weird
wood you could have bought? That is an interesting approach.
Yeah. And it hit me immediately. I was like, you could build a whole house. Like, I don't know. I just, very strange. Very strange. Anyways. Subcategory, right?
So then from there, so talking about, we're talking about whales, overspenders. What are these sorts of games, and not just free-to-play games necessarily, but games that are looking for sort of a pay-as-you-go style model of any kind. So microtransactions, live service games with like, the new Battle Pass, I feel like is the newest version. Battle
Pass is definitely the most effective version of this. I mean, you have like complete clowns who completely fumbled it, right? Like, what is Bethesda's... Not Starfield, not the newest flop. What was the flop before Starfield? Fallout 76.
76, yeah.
Yeah, that was that was horrible.
Yeah.
That was a horrible situation. They sold horribly. The game was horrible. And they doubled down and were like, well, if you pay $100.
Right. To be clear, in case you're not aware, live service games, as they're typically called, are games that come out generally just incomplete, with the promise from the developer that they will keep working on the game
as long as you keep paying.
Yeah, ad infinitum, basically, just for eternity. And the idea is that like Fortnite is the most successful version of this model, probably. You could argue something like Minecraft is kind of a live service game, but I mean, it's less in the vein of like Fortnite defines live service in terms of what it's going for. Like if someone says a game's a live service game, they generally mean like we're trying to make Fortnite money.
Yeah. So I mean, and the thing is, they usually fail. And
yeah, well, because it requires a good faith. Like Epic Games made stuff before Fortnite. It's not like Fortnite was their first thing and they tried to like steal money from people. It's
and that's true.
They're a pretty decent company. They make like a freaking Unreal Engine is amazing.
But Fortnite is a stolen product, right? Like I'm sure well,
the original Fortnite's not.
The original Fortnite
not Save the World
was a game where you basically had a quote unquote Fortnite to like establish a bunker. And
it was a tower defense
defense against zombies in third person shooter style. But
it did not look good. I remember when it came out, this was before the Battle Royale version. I actually was looking into it and I was like, yeah, this just doesn't look like a good time. So I never committed to it, but I remember those days.
It was originally, I think, revealed in like 2014. And then I don't remember the original release of that version, but it went on to basically PlayerUnknown's Battleground. kind of took the world by storm by kind of cementing the battle royale style. And then Fortnite was like, we could do that. And they did that. And they just kind of co-opted the game into that. And then they ended up winning like hardcore. Like they completely blew away PlayerUnknown's Battleground.
PUBG. Yeah.
PUBG.
Well, because Battlegrounds was a mod for
Arma,
I want to say, or Arma 2 or Arma 3 or something like that. And so then he was like, well, I want to make my own money because this mod's so popular. And so he made the independent game PlayerUnknown, which was his player name on Arma. That was like his tag or whatever. And so he has PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which Battlegrounds was the mod. And so, but it wasn't a great game from the beginning, right? I think like everyone was on the same page that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was designed.
A mod game.
Yeah, it was designed to be that the less you did in the game, the more likely you were to win. Like I remember seeing so many videos before Fortnite came out of like people playing that game, and the way you played was you found a place to camp in like the top of a building somewhere. And that game was just slow. And so it was just easy to hang out and never see anyone until the last like 5 minutes of the game. Like that's how it was designed. And so Fortnite came and changed it to be like more active of a game, which was not difficult to do, considering what the game was before. And they ran with it. They did a great job with it. 2017 was the original release.
2017.
Fortnite.
So it ended up bringing up the build aspect from the main game, and then the rest is history. Then they got all those licenses. Now you can play as Pickle Rick and Superman and Harley Quinn, and you can all do the Carlton together.
That's the live service aspect, right? Is the fact that they keep adding to it and they keep it going.
They keep adding to it. You keep paying for it. And
but that's the thing is like you don't get any of that like new stuff unless you buy the battle pass, and that's how you get the skins and all the fun stuff. And then it's like that requires you to like, it's not just paying for it. You actually have to like
work for it.
Yeah, you have to work for it in addition to paying for it.
And then if you miss out, you might just miss out. Like that's it. In fact, I mean, I was pretty big on Gundam Evolution when it came out.
Yeah.
And that lasted a year. Like, like that was it. Like it's over now.
Right.
If you miss Gundam Evolution, the servers are gone.
Right.
They closed November.
Just disappear. And it was a free to play game.
It was a free to play game.
You could pay for skins or not skins, but like
whole mechs, a whole Gundam set.
That was more like Overwatch 2 though.
That was definitely more like Overwatch, but it was superior in every single way. But unfortunately, it's gone now. And that's like the aspect of free to play games. You don't own the game.
Well, and that's the thing is you technically don't own any games. This isn't quite one of our topics, but I do want to bring up recently.
You may not.
No, even if you owned that physical copy of the game back there, you don't own that game. You own a license to play that game. If that was to connect to the internet, they could rewrite your disc to like not let you play it. Like so that if you plug it into your PlayStation, if that PlayStation is connected to the internet at any point, they can make it so that it won't play the software. I mean, they have that right. They probably won't do it, but they have the right to do that.
I mean, they'll never do that.
But that's the thing is,
especially considering that all you have to do to bypass that is just have a new console and not have it connected to the internet.
Right. And that's the thing is, but then you don't get any of the updates. And so, yeah, hopefully the game wasn't like broken at launch like so many games are nowadays.
I mean, you can manually update on PlayStation. I don't know about Xbox, but there is a manual option where if you go to, if for the PlayStation itself, you can go to Sony or you can go to any of the software developers if they still have it up. And then you could download it to a USB drive and then physically put it in to get updates.
Interesting. Okay.
I know nobody ever does it. It used to be a way to jailbreak PlayStation 3s and 4s.
Oh, okay.
So it was a well-known bypass. I never did it. I love my PS3s. I have all of them.
Yeah, I've never jailbroken a console either. But my point is that it's just kind of an interesting conversation in that you can't own a video game just in general. That's just not how they work. Even if you own a physical copy of a game, that's the closest you can get. But you technically just own a license because to be fair, it's not like you can download like what's a random like God of War. Let's say like the new God of War just for the sake of saying, right? So I own a physical copy of the God of War. I can't then like release like God of War 2 as my game because I own God of War now, right? I own God of War. It's like, no, you own a license to play God of War.
Of course, but that's the same for literally any product in the world ever.
No, yeah, kind of.
Like quite literally, like that's the copyright and trademark infringement.
Right, but the thing is that they can make changes to God of War and make it a different game from what you bought, and you have no control over that, right?
I mean, you could just revert. You have the option to revert updates.
Yeah, again, as long as they let you, right? We're all talking about things that they have to let you do.
I'm just, it's not impossible, right? Like you can absolutely just wipe a hard drive and then pop in the game again, and then that's it. It's done.
Right. And that's your best bet. But it's an interesting conversation in that like there is a service that lets you own a copy of a game, and not in the sense that like I was saying, obviously you don't own the copyright to the game, but have you heard of GOG?
Yeah, I have Metal Gear Solid 2 on GOG.
Great. So
doesn't work.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
GOG, you actually do own the game. That is the one That is the one version you don't own a license, I believe, because you can make a copy of the game and give it to someone else, and they can play the game because you legitimately own the files to the game. They're like, that is your game. So I thought it was interesting. You can kind of do that with discs, but a lot of discs are like designed so you can't copy them. They have like code in them so that if you try to like rip a copy, obviously that'll make like a non-working version of it.
Yeah, they're also proprietary, right? Like,
right. So that's the thing is GOG is the only like version of games where you're like, you legitimately just own the whole game. Like you can make a copy, give it to someone else. It is just your game.
do you remember the PlayStation, what year was it? 2013 E3 announcement for the PlayStation 4, how to share games? Do you remember that?
It sounds familiar, but I don't remember what the context was.
So Xbox was on a crash course, right? They had just failed. The 360 failed, right? They got last place.
Yeah.
They never made any money off the original Xbox.
Yeah.
So with the Xbox One, they were going for the terrible idea of like, oh, your Xbox would lock if you didn't sign in to the internet every 24 hours.
Yeah.
Once you popped in a disc once, it burned the copy.
Okay.
And like the disc was like, oh yeah, this disc is no good. You can't share this.
I see.
So like the next day it was like the PlayStation event.
Yeah.
Where everyone horrendously hated all of the things Microsoft was saying, right?
Yeah.
Horrendously, like universally panned. Not a single person defended it. There was like one guy in the audience who went, woo! And it's like well known because they're like, they paid that guy.
Yeah.
But the next day, PlayStation altered their original SKU of videos, and they included one where it was like president of Sony of Japan and president of Sony of America. And he's like, how to share games on PlayStation. And he's like, here you go. Hey, thanks. And he just hands him the disc. And that's the whole commercial. And the whole crowd went nuts.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man, that was a crazy time.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. It's crazy where we are with that today. Cause now physical copies are kind of pulling away on consoles. Physical copies are long gone on PC, although sharing games on PC is pretty easy, to be fair.
Yeah, with Steam. I mean,
with
you
Steam
can
makes
do the shared
easy.
account too anyways, like without even having to like rip or do anything crazy.
Right. So yeah, exactly. Steam makes it pretty easy to digitally share games. They're very good about like allowing you to keep games that they remove from their store, and like that Steam keeps going. It keeps chugging along. So as long as Valve doesn't go under, assumedly you own your game in like a more secure way that
Which
like
I highly doubt they
your whole
will.
house can burn down and you still have your whole Steam library and your save file, which is uploaded to the server.
The bad thing about Steam though is they legitimately do just pull a game and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So like,
but you still have your copy.
No, though, right? The demos. We can't play demos anymore. If you have a demo on PlayStation, you have a demo on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Forever.
Demo is the one thing where they will you can have it taken down and then you lose access to the demo, which that one's unfortunate. But you can still buy the game. It's when you click on the demo, it's like, do you want to purchase the full game? It's like, no, I was kind of no.
Please, I wanted to play
but
a
I
demo reel.
I bought a copy. I haven't said this on the channel. I bought a copy of Marvel's Avengers for $3 or $2 or something like that.
Did you?
Because it's no longer on Steam. They took it off of the store. It is no longer a playable game unless you already owned a copy, because then you still have access to it. That's the way that Steam works.
Mm-hmm.
So I own Marvel Avengers
on PC.
And so one of these days, we'll have to do a ZoinkMeister one-off about it, as like, it's like we're the only people who can still play in the
universe who can still play.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's just one of those things where it's like, as soon as they announced like we're taking this game down, it was a massive flop. I was like, oh man, this will be so rare. Like 5-6 years from now.
I don't know if you know this, Patrick.
And it was so cheap. So that's
but
why
I own the Peach Beach Splash. No
Yes,
shirt, no
actually,
shoes, all service edition of Kenron. What is it called? I was about to say Ashura, the fighting anime.
No.
Senran Kagura.
Senran Kagura, yeah. That's
my gosh.
Yeah, that's a game. That is not gaming as a service. That is, you pay up front and we keep you going.
There's microtransactions.
There are microtransactions?
Of course.
Loot boxes is like a worse version of microtransactions.
Oh my God. So that was the direct predecessor to
Battlefront had that huge...
What is it called?
Battlefront 2.
Battle Passes.
Battle Passes.
That was the direct predecessor.
Yeah.
It was quite literally such a bad situation that like Congress got involved in the United States because of what EA was doing with Battlefront 2.
Yeah, that one was like, those loot boxes, man. It's crazy to like how bad those got. Luckily, I think they're mostly gone. I like to think that people have moved on from...
I mean, aren't they still in like Halo Infinite? Is anyone still playing that game?
That's what I was going to say. But yeah, probably. I could imagine that game's behind the times.
Unfortunately. Did you hear Apparently, just leaked out from the pipe, right in the underbelly of Xbox's pants. Apparently, there was a Halo Battle Royale that was being worked on for quite some time that was just canceled.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Due to quality.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, hey, it's not working. We can't get it to work right. So they cut it.
Right. And that's one of those things where it's like, you know, that Battle Royale is pretty packed.
It's
I feel like
cemented. I mean, Fortnite is definitely the king, and I don't see anyone getting anywhere close to dethroning anytime soon.
Yeah.
Not even remotely. There's not even a smidget. I can't even think of anything that's remotely close to doing that.
Yeah. Well, Apex is the probably second.
It's definitely number 2, and I wouldn't say it's anywhere close.
Right. Exactly. Which I think says a lot.
Like you can twerk as like Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty, and then you can like do the Carlton as Nicki Minaj.
But what
and
about
Ariana Grande.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Remaster, where you can play as Operator Nicki Minaj? I think it's that game.
I think it is too.
Or am I thinking of Rainbow Six Siege?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Yeah, but you can just play the same character, and it's crazy. But I kicked my microphone at the speed of sound. But like stuff like that is what's keeping you there, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that you can play literally Kratos against Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
Peter Griffin was a recent character.
Yeah, there's the number of people in Fortnite, absolutely impressive. And you know what? That's the thing. It's hard for me to fault Epic Games. I feel like they're really not a bad company. Like, I feel like they do so much with that money. They like have made such an impressive product with a number of skins.
So outside
Unreal
of
Engine's
Fortnite,
amazing.
Unreal Engine is amazing.
And even in Fortnite, they added the Lego Fortnite and they added the racing Fortnite, and they literally
there's like a rock band Fortnite
hired the people that made Guitar Hero to make a Guitar Hero Fortnite, and it's by the original developers of Guitar Hero.
No, they're doing the thing.
They clearly care. Like they're clearly making the most of the money they make.
Yeah, like I don't think you understand. Unreal 5 is like, some people are like, man, I'm giving up Blender and I'm switching to Unreal 5 as my CGI base.
Yeah, it's
like, it's crazy.
Impressive. And so I can't fault Fortnite. I've never sat down and played Battle Royale and had gotten my chicken dinner or whatever the heck they call it. I'm thinking of PUBG. I don't know what they call it in Victory Royale. I've never gotten a Victory Royale on the streets of Fortnite, but I can't fault that game. It's hard for me to be mad at it because they do a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. People play it. Yeah, there's so many people.
They're starting to even fund, like Remedy Software made Alan Wake 2 that was published by Epic Games. And I don't know if you know much about that game, but that game's like an artistic masterpiece that like is funded by Fortnite, basically.
Heck yeah. Take that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they do good stuff with it. So yeah, we're coming up on our time here for the second section. So I think we should move on to section number 3. We definitely stole some time from section 1, but there's a lot to say there.
I mean, Epic Games, they opened up that lawsuit to have third-party options on iPhone and Google devices.
Yes, I think that was them.
So they're even trying to like advocate for like a freer market so that it's not so dominated.
Right.
And like their stuff was like, hey, you should definitely not be taking such a big percentage. You should probably like, only do like 5% or whatever.
Well, because they made their own PC store with the Epic Games Store. That was also their philosophy there. It was like, we will charge developers less to put games on our store.
And they just give you free games.
And they have free games.
Give you 2 free games. You don't even need to like pay into a subscription like PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo.
Right. To be fair, I have not used the Epic Games Store, mostly because every time I hear anybody talking about it, they talk about how much they don't like it. I don't know why people don't like the Epic Games Store. I've never touched it. I like having my achievements all in one place, though. That's the main reason that I keep using Steam, is because I like seeing all my Steam library is huge at this point.
I know. Is there a site or service that like just like puts all your profiles together?
There absolutely is. I don't know if I'll be able to find them quickly, but do you want to introduce our next section here?
Yeah. So moving along here, we got to keep stuff under 90 minutes. So we have it segmented in certain blocks here. But our third topic, AI in gaming. So there's a couple of different things that are interesting about the situation, right? AI has recently like spiked in the last couple of years as being this like crazy thing that went from like sci-fi-esque thing to being like, okay, now you can use this to like cheat through college or something. It's like everywhere in between. And, we all knew it was coming. It's weeding itself into video games. Well, it had recently, Prince of Persia, the newest game that came out, there is a minor NPC that only has like 5 lines, but I guess the voice actor is AI, and it caused some controversy. It's like 5 lines, like no one cares, but like ultimately the fact that it happened is definitely crazy. But Ubisoft is claiming, it was just an oopsie daisy, didn't mean to happen. Like we were supposed to replace it with the actual voice actor, and it was just missed. but they like didn't credit that person, or like they never credited anyone in the credits at all. So it kind of makes it seem like, oh, they got caught with their pants down and just trying to make it sound like.
Well, that was the other thing with the day after, going back to that scam of a game.
Oh yeah.
Every voice line in that game is thought to have been done by AI. It's not been confirmed, but that's the going theory, is that the entire voice cast for that game is AI.
Wouldn't be surprised. That game was only out for 4 days before it closed.
Real quick, just to finish off that last topic, there's two actually. There's one called GOG Galaxy, so GOG Galaxy, and it's a place to combine different aspects. And the other one's called Kit Guru, which is a third-party one. They don't do any of their own thing, but it will combine sort of a bunch of different launchers into one. And so those are kind of the two big ones, which I've been meaning to look into so that I could try the Epic Game Store, but so far I've not touched it yet. I just want to put that out there.
That's so funny. That is not what my question was.
What? You asked about one...
if there was a service that scanned your profiles across your different devices to put all your achievements in one place. That's what I meant by it.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about there's so many different game launchers. Like Minecraft has its own launcher.
Oh, no.
Fortnite has its own launcher. Well, Fortnite, I think, just use Epic Game Store probably nowadays.
Just the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, there's a lot of different games that have their own unique launchers. And there is services
on
that combine...
PC?
Yes. There is a service, though, that'll combine all the like various launchers into one software. I thought that's what we were talking about.
I meant like profiles. Because like on PlayStation, I'm a like political powerhouse when it comes to like achievements. But when it comes to
cool.
like...
I've owned an Xbox that I played for years, and the PlayStation that I've played for years, and now PC I've played for years. It would be really interesting if I could combine all that into one place.
Oh, wouldn't it? Oh my gosh, we're getting in the business, boys.
The ZoinkMeister app.
ZoinkMeister.
app. Yeah. Okay. AI and gaming, though.
All you gotta do is upload pictures of your wife and This is from a bit that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, we were talking about I don't even want to explain it. We're saying a scam service. We're talking about Star Citizen.
Why don't you just go out and watch the demo reel that isn't out yet?
Oh yeah, XO1
prologue, and towards the end of that, you kind of get a feeling what we're going for.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it bleeds, but you have to watch that whole video and like and comment.
And you gotta give us all your money.
And you gotta give us
pictures of your wife.
Pictures of your wife, huh?
Doesn't matter what kind of pictures. Doesn't matter what we're gonna use them for.
Just has to be your wife. Has to be someone's wife.
We can't prove it, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Back to the subject at hand. So yeah, AI and gaming.
I did have
it's a thing.
People. So I was just recently in school, and I was teaching as part of my graduate program. I was teaching laboratory, and I did have a student who I'm pretty confident was using AI to write her answers to quizzes, because we had like online quizzes. And a lot of her writing just didn't make sense. It sounded like somebody typed into an AI, like, summarize this article for me. So one of the things they had to do for an assignment is they had to list an article, like a scholarly journal article, and then underneath it put a little like paragraph, like a mini paragraph explaining how they used that article for their like research, whatever. Like it was an annotated bibliography is what it's called. So the annotation would say something, whenever she wrote it, it would say something like, this article probably contains something about this.
Wow.
I was like, what do you mean probably? Did it contain that or did it not?
Niels Bohr invented the hamburger model, and that
so it's probably she was like, summarize this article into an AI, and the AI was like, I don't know, the article's probably about this.
It probably says what you're looking for. I don't know. It's a picture of your wife. Huh?
So AI is coming, or it's here to stay.
It's
or
already here, and it's only going to get stronger.
Google already announced their first multimodal AI, which is several specific AI. It's not a general AI. They call it GAI. But it's an SAI, which is a specific AI like ChatGPT, but it's several specific AIs all combined into one to make, it's called a multimodal AI. So it's not general, but it is several specific ones.
General is the one that everyone's like afraid of.
Yes, that's the one
that's the one where it can learn by itself and do pretty much anything that you never programmed it to. Specialized is like, okay, it has a specific task it's supposed to help you complete.
Yeah. That's like ChatGPT is a specific.
Yeah. So. The third step is super intelligence, and that's when we're like, we're just husks of.
There's like a trend on TikTok of, I guess ChatGPT released a new feature where you can tell it a story and it'll draw pictures for you of the story you're telling.
Very interesting.
It's pretty cool. And so you'll give it a prompt of like, there's this one kitten, and then it'll show you a picture of a kitten. It's like, and the kitten is making bread. And then it's like the kitten making bread. And he's like, he's really making bread. And then it's like him making bread more intensely. It's like he hired a bunch of kittens. And this thing, it like will
There's a whole goddamn breaker.
Yeah, and it'll keep consistency with how it's drawing it. So like it'll be the same cat in like every picture and the same art style in every picture and stuff like that.
It seems,
and they play the same music on TikTok every single time, and it's like,
I'm sure.
And every single time it always escalates to like, the cat is the god of baking.
Yeah. By the end of it, the cat has 3 eyes floating in space. You know, that isn't a difficult thing too. If you go to any of the AI text to image softwares, I use Night Cafe, which uses a couple different. You can use the Dolly or the ChatGPT subsidized APIs or whatever, but it basically does what's called like an evolution.
Okay.
And that basically, it seems kind of scary because it's like following the same story, but it's actually just using the previous picture as an input of information to draw the next picture.
Okay.
So it's not that it's like keeping a rolling bank, like, no, I remembered this cat.
Yeah.
It's like every time it's reading your text and trying to apply it by searching the internet from a database from like 2021 backwards.
Yeah.
It will apply the cat as like the main subject.
Oh, okay.
So evolve that forward.
Oh, okay.
So it's everything that's being described is, if you're like into computers, you know how they work. It's a whole lot of like directed and generalized machine learning. And that's what like people don't really understand, is that machine learning is like basically recognizing patterns and then evolving output based on that. And AI is like, okay, like, you know, you don't know what the input is yet. So, you know, that's like the AI aspect is like, you know, it's going to find that info and then apply it to a set of machine learning like protocols. So it's not anything to be scared of yet, but it definitely will be at some point where, like, you know, you walk in your house and then you fart and your house is like, I've detected more methane than usual, so you should probably go down and get that shit.
Yeah, you know, so that was, I even heard a news story very recently about, so I was going to say, we have this as section C, but I'm going to skip to it real quick before we get back into gaming, since we're kind of more in general AI stuff. AIs, apparently, I don't know if you've heard, there's like a scam call situation which was going on before AIs, where they would like record. So the scam is like they call you and they wait for you to talk, and when you say something in the mic, they would like take snippets of your voice and then use it to train like an AI or something, basically.
Wow.
And then that AI would try to like solicit money from your family, sort of thing. It's like, oh, I'm like down in Mexico, and this actually happened to my grandmother. My grandmother got a call from me. She said it sounded like I had a cold, but it sounded like me otherwise, where I was like, I said I was in Mexico and I was in jail and I needed like bail money or something like that.
Oh, there's literally thousands of hours of us talking on YouTube.
Yeah. And so my grandmother's was like, all right, Patrick would never, like, it's like, that's the most exciting
Mexico
thing.
was on the other side of the world. What is he doing?
Yeah, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't, like, how could he have even gotten there? Like, it's like that man's afraid of planes. Like,
it's a 24-hour flight from where we are, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was like, it didn't go anywhere, but it was like, it was a scary concept. And now the AI is like getting even better. That's apparently they can take like your social media. If you post videos to like Instagram or whatever, that they have like much more information about your voice and can make a much more accurate AI model off of that.
Horrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you train something off of the ZoinkMeister Patrick voice, I'm sure there's tons and tons of clips without any background noise right now. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Help. I need your money now. Yeah, no. Evie would like to play with your credit card information.
So that's something to keep in mind and be afraid of. So with that though, there are good uses and potentially bad uses to AI. And one of them has been announced by
the Game Shark. So Game Shark, if you remember, if you're a little bit older, like we may or may not be, because who knows our ages. Game Shark was a company that delivered devices that could be used to cheat through games. So like, you know,
and I feel like they were bigger on Nintendo consoles in general.
Definitely. Mostly because Nintendo
like
kept their cartridge ways longer than others.
Yeah.
So you basically have a Game Shark, you plug it into the console, and then you plug the cartridge into the Game Shark, and then you could bypass some of the...
The other one was Action Replay.
Action Replay, also another, same basic concept, cheat codes, you load them.
Right.
And then afterwards, they modify your game. Modding. It's modding before modding.
Yeah, it's modding, and it kind of only happened with cartridge-based games because you could put the thing in between the cartridge and your console and made it super easy.
Yeah.
It's not something you could really do for like a disc. You'd have to have.
GameCube had one.
Okay. Did you have to like plug it in or did you like put it
You activated the console first, it loaded the game, and at one point you had to eject the game, put the new disc in, and then let it load, and then like put the game back in, and then hit the reset button. Some crazy nonsense
Sounds
like that.
complicated. But yeah, the point is, it's much easier with cartridges.
So anyways, Game Shark, which I'm sure was defunct or something, but apparently there are now like Game Shark AI.
Okay.
They recently stated that they're releasing a service that watches the way you play games and will suggest ways you can be better. Like let's say you keep going against a boss and you die. You know, so on and so forth, whatever AI generated nonsense. And like that's cool.
It sounds vaguely like what is it, Microsoft Clippy or whatever?
Yeah, Microsoft Clippy for games.
Yeah, I would love the idea of like a passive aggressive AI and like a Soulsborne kind of game, whatever, where it's like you're fighting the same boss over and over. It's like, yeah, maybe if you weren't so greedy and dodge rolled more.
It's like, have you tried dodge rolling? Because it looks like you're only.
Hey Fox, maybe do a barrel roll next time.
Every now and again, huh? Hey, send me pictures of your wife, huh? So.
Me, the AI.
Me, the AI. So just screenshot pictures. So anyways, Game Shark AI, they announced the service, right? And they casually just like dump truck drop a lever of like steaming hot concrete all over the sidewalk where they're just like, yeah, it'll be out this September. It'll release with the new Switch 2. Like it's nothing, right? They're just like, what do you mean the new Switch 2? That could just be a casual, crazy, like, what the heck? Or alternatively, Game Shark AI was like, man, we're a thing and we need to market ourselves. So let's just casually say that it's going to release in the Switch 2. That way media picks it up as a Switch 2 story and we get involved.
Right. I mean, I will say that like, I can't imagine Nintendo would be very happy if Game Shark casually announced their console release.
They wouldn't, but they're already known for being a bad boy, right?
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, I can't imagine they would tell Game Shark in the future. I don't know how Game Shark
I wouldn't have. Yeah, they probably wouldn't tell Game Shark now. So
yeah, that's to be fair.
It's
right?
probably all not real. But
yeah,
it led us to the discussion, right? Like the Switch 2 can't possibly be as powerful as the PS5 or the Xbox Series or like the average PC running like any card in the 2000 or 20 series or higher.
Yeah, or even honestly, I'm gonna say it. I'll bet some 10 series.
Yeah,
would
like the
Switch
1080
too.
Ti for sure is gonna outperform.
Yeah,
but so I mean, the only thing they could do is 4K, right? 4K at like 60 is like the minimal threshold they'd have to hit.
Also, it's not gonna be called the Switch 2, and it's not gonna because that's the thing. Nintendo has this perfect history of making a good console followed immediately by a bad console.
But they always do this thing where the follow-up console backplays the previous.
Yeah, right. Well,
GameCube could play, Wii could play GameCube.
Right.
Wii U could play Wii.
Right.
And then there's this break right here where they can't.
Right.
But DS, actually all the DSs were really good. Actually, no, the 3DS sold horribly in the beginning because it was like $250.
Right.
It eventually dropped to 180 in the United States and it sold far better. And then completely blew away the Vita and destroyed it and like you'd bend it over and grabbed it by its ankles.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, they always do backwards compatibility and they sure do have a big dump truck library.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they kept the same form factor, like the cartridge slot fits. And I wouldn't be surprised if like, oh, it's whatever it's called. Maybe it's not the Switch 2, but maybe it will have backwards compatibility.
I would imagine they do it like 3DS style, where you can play DS games on a 3DS, but you can't play 3DS games on DS.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, that like probably will have a cartridge, but it'll be like slightly different to make sure that you like can't put a Switch 2 cartridge into a Switch.
Or maybe it's in the dock. It could be in the dock. You know how the PlayStation Slim?
Oh yeah.
Like you have to buy the attachment for this.
Yeah. Because that's the thing is like, I don't know how much better you can make a portable console. Well, there's the Steam Deck. But yeah.
Which the Steam Deck's cool. It's definitely cool. It doesn't have the throw it in your backpack appeal.
Yeah, but it's like definitely stronger than the Switch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely stronger.
Which, because that's the conversation here. Is like, what would a Switch 2 do that could impress me enough to get a Switch? The answer is to make another Smash Brothers game, but not counting that answer doesn't count. What is a different thing they could do?
Mario Odyssey 2 or Zelda Breath of the 3 or Metroid Prime 4 or Donkey. Okay, so Nintendo has...
that's where we're coming to with this. That's our point B here, is that like freaking Nintendo, they make good games. We're not arguing they don't make good games.
Amazing games.
But by golly, am I tired of their consoles?
Yeah, it's always like this gimmick, right? Right? The console comes out and you love it because whatever the gimmick is like, ridiculously fresh and not done before.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool gimmick. How did I ever live without it? And then like 6 months later, you're like, boy, oh boy, have I not turned the Wii on in quite some time.
And the gimmick isn't even like the Switch's gimmick, other than being portable, is that they have the like Joy-Cons or like have really good haptic feedback. And it's
they
like
snap in and off. And
yeah,
you can
it's like, I don't care. My Joy-Cons won't even charge anymore on my Switch for some reason.
Joysticks out of the package can be bad.
And they like drift and junk. And it's like, stop making consoles. Like, oh my goodness. If Nintendo released Mario Odyssey on Steam instead, and I could play it on my deck on the go, I'd be just as happy.
Oh man, that would, you know how crazy that would be? I was actually sad a while back. There was this rumor that
I would love it if they did the Sony thing even and like released the previous game when the new game came out. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, the fact that they don't have a Nintendo, I would download a Nintendo launcher like easily.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like easily. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure they would really not like it.
And make it so easy. Yeah.
Because they have whole games where it's just going to be the same game again.
People were freaking like, I remember, Linus Tech Tips even did their video when Tears of the Kingdom came out it was saying like, yeah, I'm going to play that on the Steam Deck. Like,
yeah, he's like, look, man, I'm still in the high seas. It is what it is, man. All doop.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the Switch feels so outdated, and I don't foresee any sort of switch to like being good enough to not just be like, I'd rather play it literally anywhere else.
Yeah,
like,
that would be the thing too, is that there's so many amazing games. They make a rock solid game. In fact, I will say this on the record right now. I think Nintendo Research and Development is by far the best developing team, period, like ever. And they make amazing games, and they have them play on potatoes, like standard.
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah. Oh
like
yeah. The compression team or whatever that's going on at Nintendo.
Every single thing. When they make the mechanic, the game's solid. There's never any like big glitches.
Yeah.
Like they horrendously bug test so that like, no, we're not releasing this. It needs to be perfect. Like they are like straight up traditional Japanese craftsmen.
And nowadays they patch the games. And so even if there are bugs, they like remove them, which is not the like speedrun community's not been a fan of that.
Yeah.
But outside of that group of people,
they always do it clean, and they always do it really, really good. If it's by them directly, it's probably a good game. And there could only be benefits to having double the horsepower that you're dealing with.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine. The only thing I can think of as to why Nintendo would not want to release on PC specifically is just because PC games tend to be like way harder to develop for, because you don't know what the hardware you're dealing with is.
You gotta just kind of do it.
And so Nintendo doesn't want to have that any sense of like reputation of like Nintendo releases their first PC game and it's glitchy.
And it's bad.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, well that like hurt, you know. It's like Nintendo's known for their polish, but that's hard to do on PC.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they like traditional, like, no, this game is going to be how we wanted it to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, but you didn't release Mario 64 on anything but the 64, and then that one time on DS, and then the All-Star Collection. Don't you think maybe it's time for 4K?
And didn't the All-Star Collection was only being sold for a year or something crazy like that?
Yeah, it was only sold for a year. I have 2 copies, one physical, one digital, just because of that.
Yeah, it's wild. Nintendo has this really aggressive stance of like, you will play our games on the intended hardware, and you will pay full price for both.
Oh yeah, every time if you buy it again, it's full price.
Yeah,
like if you buy it on,
they don't believe in sales. Like
no, and like it is what it is. This has clearly worked for them, right? Like their seal of quality,
they're doing well.
Is quite literally like they brought back the gaming industry from the crash of '83.
Yeah,
because they did the Nintendo seal of quality. Like no, this is a bona fide good game. Like it is what it is. It's not going to be bad.
Yeah, I'm just getting tired, man. Mario Wonder came out, and I was like, I'm not gonna play it. Like,
I haven't. I haven't got the chance to play it, but I want to.
Yeah, I don't even want to. Like, it's just I played New Super Mario Brothers on the DS when it came out, and Mario Wonder's like, yeah, is it better? Definitely, it looks like it's better.
Yeah, it looks like a lot.
I'm not gonna argue with that. If you've never played a 2D Mario side-scrolling game in your life, grab Wonder. It's probably an amazing time. I'm not gonna like fault them for that, but like Nintendo's so. Like it's just not worth me getting a console over. Like,
no,
it's like I feel like I've played Nintendo.
The crazy thing is, like, if you didn't have a Switch and like you didn't play video games, like period, I would be like, well, maybe you should buy a Switch because it's on the go. Your kids can play with it. It's Smash Bros. The Legend of Zelda's, the Prime trilogy, there's so much fun to be had,
right?
For just like a quick fun time. But if you're like a dedicated, like, hey man, I want to have the best gaming experience possible.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, your two options are PS5 and PC.
Right.
And if you're doing the PC route, it's going to be expensive and there's going to be a lot of headaches.
Apparently, here's another thing. Actually, in the game conservation space, we were talking about this slightly earlier in the podcast, but I've heard in the console wars between Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, Xbox is the only company that's gone on record saying that it is their like company mission to have sustainable game preservation. They're really into like, no, we want to make sure as many Xbox titles are playable as possible for the rest of ever.
The backwards compatibility initiative from the 360 to Xbox One was one of the probably most unsung heroes like initiatives of all of gaming, where they had a whole team, backwards compatibility team, that just went back and made 360 games work on Xbox One.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was like a video essay on YouTube where a guy was saying like, look, I think the console wars are stupid, but I will say that if you were to ask me which company you should support in terms of doing good for the industry, he said, I feel like Xbox is the console to buy. And that was his whole explanation, because they are the only company that's gone on record saying that they care about game preservation and that they're committed to it.
Nintendo cares so much they won't let you have it.
Right, yeah. It's such a different vibe. It's so weird.
It is. Like, they're definitely like the
But if you want
nice
to play
guy.
the new biggest thing, definitely PlayStation, like you said. But there's
Yeah.
something to be said for Xbox's commitment to like
Xbox
preservation.
definitely isn't bad.
Just
but
Nintendo's whatever they're doing over there.
yeah, the Xbox definitely isn't bad, but there's no reason to go over there besides, honestly, it's just like the Game Pass ideology. But people don't just have time to do that. Like if you're
Game Pass is a cool concept depending on what age you are. I feel like kids in like junior high or high school that have like all kinds of random free time.
That's cool, but you have to convince your parents as a child to pay for this recurring service.
But it's cheaper than a game. Like it costs as much as buying a game. One game a year.
But it's a service.
Right. But what I'm saying is like, hey, instead of getting me a game for my birthday this year, like a single game, can you get me a year of Game Pass? And then I have all the games I could ever want.
Potentially, yes.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying is I think that's kind of like the ideal audience for something like that.
I think it's really cool, but it's not working. So it's like that's the thing too. It's like if you want to go somewhere and have a fantastic time for any of the Call of Duties, for any third party game, then your best option is either or. You can do PS5 or Xbox. The Xbox is not a bad console by any means. It's a good console, but PlayStation has a bunch of exclusivities, like amazing titles, like some of the best games are only available on PlayStation.
Well, and that's the thing. If you want to play like cutting edge, newest, best games, I feel like PlayStation's the way to go. But like I said, I feel like Xbox is there if instead you're looking for an experience of like you're a relatively new gamer and you're like, I want to play the back catalog of like games that have come out like over the years. And it's like, well, Xbox Game Pass is a pretty good way to go. It's cheap, it's easy.
It is, and even if it's not on Game Pass, because games cycle in and out of Game Pass, it's not forever.
Right.
But they still do more backwards compatibility. Well,
for Game Pass specifically, yes, things do cycle in and out. They do have game. You can buy a game and then you keep it.
Then it'll be there forever.
Yeah, but yes, Game Pass specifically does have like stuff coming in and out.
PlayStation 4, all but 9 games work on the PS5, but I'm not sure what the compatibility from Xbox One to Xbox Series is, but I believe they're based on the same architecture, so I think everything works.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's like perfectly backwards compatible, if I'm not mistaken.
But on top of that, you can do 360 games, I believe. At least some that are like pre-approved and they like explain.
360 is kind of weird because they had to remake them for the Xbox One, but any game that was remade for the Xbox One, basically,
then it will work.
It will still work on Series.
And not remade like from the ground up, like they like hand converted all those assets over to be compatible with the architecture of the Xbox One.
Right. Yeah. They're not remakes in the sense that like Final Fantasy VII remake.
So
it's just, they had to like redo the system hardware to make it function on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
But
the Xbox One has a terrible lineup of games, but the 360 has an amazing lineup of games.
Yeah.
And the series has a lot of third-party games you can play too. So like there's still things to be had there.
Right. But
ultimately,
that's the hard part is that, a lot of times I feel like I'd just rather have a PC. I mean, it's
and that's
way more work, but
it is way more work.
Sure will look nicer.
It will look nicer and it will probably break more, but like that's what you're here for, right?
Yeah. It's min-max. I feel like PC is min-maxing your video game experience.
Absolutely. Every time anyone's ever told me like, you got to go PC, bro, it's the best thing. And I'm like, I have them all. I was like, I do them all. And he's like, what? Why aren't you playing? I was like, well, I'm playing on PS5. It's like, oh, why are you playing there? I was like, because I'm there to have fun. Like, I just want to sit back and I just want to play in like a couch. Like, I'm not here to.
all day yesterday. I woke up at 7 a.m. and I worked on it until 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or something wild like that. Modding Baldur's Gate 3 and like getting it right and getting everything working how I wanted it to work. And like the pro of that is now I have the best experience possible of Baldur's Gate 3 for me, what I wanted to see in that game, right? It's like so many versions that are not the base game. It looks amazing. It's great. It's fun to play. But the downside of that is I literally spent 12 hours trying to get this game working right to what I wanted the experience to be. But that's the thing. If you play Baldur's Gate 3 on your PlayStation 5, it'll work right away. There will be no problems, but the experience you have will not be the experience that I'm having. It won't be
the custom modded, tailored version.
Right. And so it's pros and cons. It's pros and cons. But with that, we have our final fun fact for you, I think, before we close this out.
Yeah, I would like to always put a fun fact at the end of every single episode.
Yeah, we'll have to workshop what those are going to look like in the future, but we have one for today.
And this one is a really obscure, so I'm really happy I'm here for this. So the creator of Gundam, Yoshiyuki Tomino.
Okay.
Creator of Gundam. He was there for its creation from like 79 onwards. A lot of big important things. I love Gundam, big Gundam fan, as people know.
Big Gundam toes.
Big, beautiful Gundams. So he took a hiatus back in 1993.
Okay.
And he came back to the Gundam franchise, I believe, for Turn A in 1999. In that 5.5 year period.
Okay.
He worked on two things.
Okay.
Two different Bananime.
What was the last thing in 93 that he worked on, just for context?
I think it was, Double Zeta or maybe F91?
Okay.
There are things that you don't know.
Yeah. No, did anything come out from Gundam in that time? Question of the day?
Yeah. Other things, I believe, came out in that time.
Okay.
But Victory Gundam was the last thing he worked on.
Gotcha.
So in that time, he worked on two anime.
Okay.
In 1998, he worked on an anime called Brain Powered. But the one I want to discuss is 1996. Tomino wrote and directed... That's right. Garzy's Wing is
Garzy's Wing is a Gundam? Wow.
From the brainchild of the Gundam creator, Garzy's Wing. Go look up Garzy's Wing.
Oh, yeah. It's on YouTube. The first episode for free. You have to watch the English dub. It's really important that you watch the English dub version, Garzy's Wing episode 1. It's on YouTube for free. I swear.
You need to watch it. We only have like literally a minute and 6 seconds left.
Yeah, watch it.
You go watch it. It's crazy. You'll think you think you've done drugs and you like forgot that you did them.
It's wild. I can't believe that a first episode could look like that. It's
Tomino directed and wrote Garzy's Wing.
My sword is incredibly dull.
It is one of the worst anime ever made, but is possibly one of the funniest events in all of anime history.
It's so bad it's good to the craziest degree.
To the craziest degree. You don't even know what's happening. You're gonna think you missed something, and no, you didn't. We all missed something.
Yeah, we all. Really, it's our fault for not understanding that Gundam vision.
Beyond our power.
So with that, since we're basically out of time here, we just want to say thank you guys for checking out our second episode. We have the older episodes coming back up. So
slowly and periodically.
Yeah, those are not going to be the new quality. We just throw those up there to hold you guys over in between full episodes for a little while here until we run out. There's 14 of those. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, thank you for coming. You've been awesome. I'm ZoinkMeister Adam.
I'm ZoinkMeister Patrick.
Zoink out.